Okay, since I'm not going to be with you in class tomorrow, please hold back your tears. That's embarrassing. I wanted to do a couple of examples with you so that you can refer back to this tomorrow or over the weekend whenever you need some more help on this. Okay, so this first one we're looking at, this is a part and this is a part of the altitude. So since I'm given two parts, the logical place to start would be with Paap. Okay, so here's my thing for Paap. Part to altitude equals altitude to part. So part would be 5 over altitude x equals altitude x over the other part, 7. So you make kind of a little V, P-A-A-P. Okay, so then cross multiply, and I have x squared is equal to 35. Take the square root of both parts, so x is equal to the square root of 35. And I know that's not going to break down, so I'm going to leave that just like it is. Okay, now this could have been done in any order, because in addition to having the two parts, if I have the two parts, I also know how much the altitude is. So this piece is 5 and this piece is 7, so the whole thing is 12, and now I can go and find the legs using help. Okay, so hypotenuse is 12. Over, I'm going to do the left one first, it doesn't matter which one you do, over leg equals leg over his part. Remember, you have to stay on the same side, so if I use the left leg, I have to use the left piece, no cross the ovary. Okay, so y squared is equal to 60, so ignore the laundry. If anyone wants to come and do that for me, they can. Okay, so let's see, 62 and 30. 2 and 15, 3 and 5. So that's going to be 2 on the square root of 15 for y. Same story for z, only I'm going to use the other side of the triangle. So it's still help, only the leg is now z and his partner is 7. So when I cross multiply, z squared equals 84. Okay. Let's see, 84, 2 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 7. So 2 on the square root of 21. If you don't get very good at breaking down radicals by this point, you have got some troubles. Okay, so I smashed this all in here and I have myself a lot of room that I didn't really use, so I'll spread out on the next one if this is too small. But we used Paap to get the altitude, we used help to get the two legs. Okay, moving on to example 2. Okay, so in this piece they gave us a part and they gave us a leg, so that means I have to start with help up front, otherwise I can't get anywhere, because they gave me a leg and they gave me a part, so I'm going to start with help. Okay, so the hypotenuse, I don't know. I only know part of it, so you could call it x plus 10, but I think that's going to confuse you. I would just call this h, and then we'll come back and worry about what that means in a second. I wouldn't call it 10 plus x. That would be a little creepy. Not creepy, a little too hard. So h over L is leg, and that same leg is 20, and his partner is 10. Okay, so hypotenuse to leg, leg to part. Cross multiply, 10h is equal to 400. Divide by 10, so h is equal to 40. So then we can use that to solve for x. If the whole thing is 40 and this much of it is 10, then this much has to be 30. Okay? Alright, now that I have each of the pieces, now I can do Paap if I wanted to get to the altitude. Since y is the altitude, the only way to get there is to use Paap. So let's do that one next. 30 over y equals y over 10. Okay, cross multiply, y squared is equal to 300. Square root, is that 2 and 150, 2 and 75, 3 and 25, 5 and 5. So 2 here and 5 here would leave me with 10 on the square root of 3 for the altitude. Probably could have got that by just separating out the 100. Square root of 100 is 10, and then that leaves the 3 left over. I just did it the long way. Okay, so I have x, I have y. The last thing to get is z, and z is a leg, so that will be help. So the hypotenuse is 40. The leg is z. Leg is z, and his buddy is the 30. So cross multiply z squared equals 1200. Okay, so square root of 1200. Several ways we can do this. Let's go, let's just do it the normal way. 2 and 600, 2 and 300, 2 and 150, 2 and 75, 3 and 25, 5 and 5, pair, pair, pair. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20. And then 3 is left over. So this would be 20 on the square root of 3. Okay, a couple more. Alright, this one's a little different because it already has a radical in there, but no need to get freaked out. Let's see, if I'm trying to find x first, that's a part. They gave me the altitude, so that would lead me to do Paap. So I'm going to do part over altitude equals square root of 6, how about that? Equals altitude over the other part, so I'm going to make my little v, P-A-A-P. Okay, cross multiply, 3 times x is 3x. Square root of 6 times square root of 6, remember when you multiply two square roots together, they just end up canceling out. So this one looks scary at first because, oh no, it has a square root, but it ends up going away, so no need to panic. And x is equal to 2. Okay, now that I have that, I have both parts, so now I can say that if this part is 3 and this part is 2, then the entire hypotenuse is 5, and I can move on to doing my help to get my legs. So let's start on the left side first. Hypotenuse is 5, leg is y, leg is y. His partner is 3. So hypotenuse, leg, leg, part. Y squared is equal to 15. So this would be square root of 15. No way to break that down. Same story over on the other side. Hypotenuse is 5. Leg is z this time. And his partner is 2. Cross multiply. Z squared equals 10. Nothing to break down there, so z equals square root of 10. So that one started out difficult, but it was probably the easiest one we did the whole time here because I didn't have to break down all these crazy radicals. Okay, example 4 here, this kind, when we see x and x plus 10, you know you're itching for a quadratic. So this is where the Paap Hllp is exactly the same, but the algebra is going to get a little more difficult. So since they gave us the altitude, I'm going to start with Paap. So part would be x plus 10 over the altitude is 12. Altitude is 12. And the other part is x. So still doing that V pattern, P-A-A-P. So here you can see we're going to get that quadratic because when I distribute here, x times x is x squared. X times 10 is 10x equals 12 times 12 is 144. Okay, so we did this last chapter in chapter 7. Cross multiply on this side equals cross multiply on this side, and then to get it to be the quadratic, you have to move everything over to one side. So I have x squared plus 10x minus 144. Everything has to be equal to 0 or it doesn't count. Okay, and now you can do your factoring whichever way you want to. I know a lot of you are comfortable with the x box. So this is negative 144 and this is 10. Okay, so you're just going to try your factors of 144 until you get there. This is 8 and this is 18. How about that? Let me double check. 8 times 18 is 144. I want it to be a positive 10, so this would be negative and that would be positive. Negative 8 times 18 is negative 144. Negative 8 plus 18 is 10, so I know I have this right. Now here's where some of you stopped on the Chapter 7 quiz. Hopefully you didn't on the test. This would be x minus 8. This would be x plus 18. So these form your parentheses. They do not form your answer. You still have to go one more step to get your answer. I know x minus 8 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 8. I know x plus 18 is equal to 0. So when I solve, x is equal to negative 18. So you're going to get two answers, but the negative one is not going to make sense because we're talking about side lengths here. So is there any way that this side length from here to here can be negative 18? No. So we ignore the negative case, and our answer is x is equal to 8. So then we can go and plug that in. X is equal to 8, which means this part is equal to 18. Look at how that worked out there. Not a coincidence. Okay, so now I know the two parts, so I can use that to form my hypotenuse. So 8 plus 18 is 26 for the hypotenuse. And then I can go on about my business and do help for the two legs. So let's do that. Hypotenuse is 26. We'll do the y leg first. Okay, so hypotenuse to leg, leg to part. So 26 to y, y to 18. So then these become more normal like we're used to seeing. This is 468. Let's see. Okay, so this is going to be 4 and 117. 117 is 9 and 13. 13 is prime. So square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 9 is 3. So this would be 6 on the square root of 13. Now, feel free to do your whole branch, go by 2s, go by 3s, all the way out. This is just kind of a faster way if you try to divide by perfect squares, 4, 9, 25, 16, then you can get there faster. So, but if I confuse you with this, do your long tree. Don't let me confuse you just trying to take a shortcut. So 6 on the square root of 13. Same story for the other side. Hypotenuse is 26, the leg is z, and his partner is 8. Hypotenuse to leg, leg to part. Okay, z squared is equal to 208. Okay, and this would be 16 times 13. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 on the square root of 13. There we go. So the quadratic ones are about as difficult as they get because it involves a lot of algebra and then the Paap and Hllp stuff on top of that. So hold on to this if you need to rewatch this example again right now, again tomorrow, again over the weekend. Hold on to that and you can do that. Okay? Y'all be good and I will see you on Monday.